everybody. I am Holoma Christiana, a level 200 student of the University of Cape. Today, I would like to take you through a few things you should know under employment interview and then follow-up message. So our table of contents are definition of employment interview, types of employment interview, preparation before, during and after the interview, and other employment letters and documents. So when we say employment interview is a formal conversation between a job applicant and a potential employer, typically conducted to assess the candidate's qualifications, skills, experience, and suitability for a specific role. It serves as an opportunity for both parties to exchange information, that is, the job applicant and then the employer. The employer elevates the candidate's fit for the company, while the candidate learns more about the job and the organization.
Okay, we continue from the types of employment interviews. We have screening interviews. A screening interview is an initial interview in the hiring process, usually conducted over the phone or via video call. Its purpose is to assess whether a candidate meets the basic requirements or qualification for the job before moving them forward to the more in-depth interview. What to expect in a screening interview? Questions about your background, experience, and skills. So when you go for a screening interview, they'll ask you questions about your background information, about your experience, what you've experienced so far, and your skills you've acquired. Another thing to expect in a screening interview is discussion of your interest in the role and company. So they will discuss about the interest in the company, whatever interest you have in the company, you will talk about it. Then another thing to expect in a screening interview is questions about your salary expectations and availability. So in a screening interview, they'll ask you questions about your salary expectation, what you expect them to pay you. The next type of employment interview is placement interview. A placement interview is a job interview conducted as part of a recruitment process, often for students, recent graduates, or job seekers looking for new opportunities. These interviews are commonly organized by universities, job placement agencies, or companies hiring fresh talent. So we have forms of placement. One of the forms of placement is one-on-one interviews. In one-on-one interviews, which are the most common type of interview, you can expect to sit down with a company representative and talk about the job and your qualifications. If the representative is the hiring manager, questions will be specific and job related. If the representative is from human resources, questions will probably be more general. Another form of placement interviews is panel interview. Panel interview is also called team interview. Panel interviews are commonly with companies that rules by consensus. Many panel interviews are conducted by teams of 2 or more people. With panel interviews, begin to think in terms of the we instead of I. Explain how you contributed the team effort instead of emphasizing individual achievements. Strive to stay focused. Summarize important points and ask important questions. Remember to direct to questions or the panels.
Forms of placement interviews. We have group interviews. Some companies interview several candidates for the same position at the same time. These employers use these techniques to measure leadership and communication styles. During a group interview, stay focused on the interviewer and treat other candidates with respect. Move on to stress interviews. Stress interviews are meant to test your reactions during nerve-wracking situations. Some interview techniques is to have interviewers ask questions at a rapid rate. If asked rapid-fire questions from many directions, take time to slow things down. Thank you.
Preparation before the interview, ensuring personal phone contact. With this, you must contact the company. You must contact the company. You must have the contact of the company. Second, make the first conversation impressive. With this, you must be impressive with your conversation. Researching the target company. With this, you must target the company which you are going to do the interview. And lastly, preparing and practicing. This, you must prepare and practice what you are going to do, the interview, what the company needs.
After the interview, we thank your interviewer, the person who is interviewing you. So these are the ways that we use to thank. I'm giving you two. Send a timely email, usually between 24 hours. Then you express gratitude by saying, thanks for taking time to speak with me. Then we look at follow-up. When we talk about follow-up, it's a polite and professional way to show interest about the position in which you are looking for. Then these are ways that we use to show follow-up messages. Send after 7 to 10 days. Then we have close with a professional sign-off which said best regards or yours sincerely. Yeah. Then we have contacting your reference. Contacting your reference has to be with somebody that you trust, that he or she can defend you. So you have to indicate the person's name, like Gary, Kojo, Mensa. Then you add the person's contact.
And I am proceeding with during the interview. So during the interview, you will be answering and asking your own questions. The interviewer will be trying to learn more about you, and you should also learn more about the job and the organization. The way you answer questions can be almost important as what you say. For example, Miss Leon, I would be pleased to tell you about what you want to tell me, then you add it. People will like to hear their own names and be sure you are pronouncing the name correctly. So there we are moving on to after the interview.
Of your interview, before you get a successful interview, you must go through some steps before you get a successful interview. Step 1, travel and arriving at the interview center on time. So travel and arrive at the interview center on time is the most important part of making first impression for the interview. Sending positive non-verbal message. Sending positive non-verbal message can greatly enhance your interaction during an interview. Eye contact. Eye contact conveys confidence, interest, and sincerity. It helps establish a connection with an interviewer. Fighting fear. Fighting fear is all about managing your emotional responses so that it doesn't hold you back from reaching your preparation and practice. If you are nervous about an upcoming interview, practice common questions, review your experience, and even do a mock interview with friends.
I am Tremeni Ebenezer, and I'm taking you through the closing of an interview. This is a crucial point that gives an opportunity to a job applicant or an interview opportunity to ask a question, some few questions. And these questions normally are not questions that you've already asked. At this point, as a job applicant, you have chance to ask questions like, what are my duties? What would be expected of you? What will be your responsibilities? And also you have the chance to ask who will be your immediate supervisor. These questions are normally asked by immediate employees who are being transferred to another positions. When you are being promoted or you are being transferred to different sections of the organization, you must know whom you are going to directly work with and who is going to supervise you. So before you leave, summarize your strongest qualification, show enthusiasm, and thank the interviewer for a constructive interview and also considering you for the position. We also continue from here to some various documents that are needed during interview. So the next person will take after me.
When I'm taking you through the other documents and employment letters. So after closing the interview, you have to submit some documents. So one, you have to submit your application form. The application form is a brief information indicating the job position you are looking for in your qualifications that specify that you have to apply for the job. So after you are done with the interview and you have submitted your application form, you have to wait for some time for the organization to give you feedback. If the organization doesn't give you any feedback, you have to submit a resume follow-up letter. The resume follow-up letter indicates that you have applied for the position but you haven't got any feedback. So in the resume follow-up letter, you have to write a brief short letter that you applied for a position like I applied for to be the accountant of this position, but I haven't get any feedback. So you have to come to the organization that you apply for the position but I haven't get any feedback. So after that, you have to move to the resignation letter. If you are an organization and you are working and you think that I'm fed up, or you have to move, or maybe you are getting a scholarship to do something like that, and you are leaving the organization, you don't have to leave the organization like that. You have to show gratitude to the organization. So now I have to write a resignation letter. The resignation letter indicates that you are compared with what the organization has done for you and all other stuff. So then you have to write a resignation letter stating or showing your gratitude to the organization before you leave the organization.
So we spoke about the employment interview, which is a formal conversation which goes on between the job applicant and then the employer. Okay, we also spoke about the types of employment interview and then what to do before employment interview and then after employment interview and then questions to ask during employment interview. It's other documents of the interview. Thank you. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.